Hey, how's it going, guys? MrBossFTW here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we're going to be talking about 15 helpful tips and useful tricks that will make you a better outlaw. So let's dive into this today at the #1 spot. This is so simple, but it's just a major quality of life thing you need to know. In the gun store, if you want to buy max ammo, all you have to do is hold down X. So this is something the gun store doesn't tell you, that you can buy max ammo by holding it down, and there's no separate button. So this is convenient because what I've been doing every time since then, I've been going into the gun store and I've been mashing X, or I guess A if you're on Xbox, over and over and over again, trying to get max ammo when I could have just held it down the entire time. And when you do that, it'll have like the little circle that goes complete, and it'll tell you the full price as well. So again, something that's very convenient, and it will save you a lot of time, like it did for me in the gunsmith. And I'm not sure if this works in other places too, like with multiple different quantities of things, but the gunsmith is one place I know for 100% certainty that it does work. Tip #2 today, and this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler, so I'll actually leave a timestamp in the description if you want to skip past the spoiler. However, if you've already completed chapter 3, then you know what I'm going to be talking about here. So tip #2 today is revisit old places you went in the campaign. So one really good example here is the Braithwaite Manor. So at the end of chapter 3, you burn down this manor to the ground. And if you actually come back to it, you can actually find some goodies. You can actually find the burned corpse of Catherine Braithwaite, which is kind of interesting. You can also loot her and get her brooch, which apparently you can sell for some money. And there's also a lockbox that you can find as well that has a gold bar inside. So needless to say, it is worthwhile to go back to many of the locations you've probably visited during the campaign, or during missions, I should say, because they could have changed and they could offer you more secrets, more gear, or just more cool things to ultimately discover. Tip #3 today, you want to be utilizing improved ammo. So whether this is ammo that you craft or whether this is ammo that you buy, you don't just want to use standard ammo cartridges. The best example of this is with arrows. So one of the arrows you can craft is an improved arrow, which requires an arrow and a flight feather. And for this test, we're going to be utilizing this wooden post. So let's start with a regular arrow. With the regular arrow, you can see that it is sticking into the wood, but it has not gone all the way through, and that you can actually go and grab it and pick it up. Now, let's go ahead and switch to the improved arrow. And you can see the improved arrow, once we fire it, goes all the way through the wood. It sticks all the way through. Like, you can see the arrowhead on the other side, and you are unable to grab it. So that is right there just a visual representation of how much better improved ammo, arrows, and throwables are than their normal counterparts. This is something I figured out way too late in the game, and it would have made my life so much easier. So take the time to go buy the extra ammo or craft the improved ammo. It's going to make your life so much easier. This next tip comes from a user, Strange Walrus, on the Red Dead Redemption subreddit. Apparently, you can sit on the edge of bridges. That is kind of cool. So in a previous video, I told you guys that you could do this on cliff sides. Well, apparently you can do this on any type of ledge in the game, which does give you some serious, gorgeous views of the world. So if you find a bridge like this, if you want to just take a load off your feet or relax a little bit, and you can obviously take in this really cool view, and you can sit down on the edge as well, which is kind of awesome. Just another great detail added by Rockstar. Tip #5 today, when you are in the cinematic camera, you can actually change the camera angle and position by clicking in on the right thumbstick. This is a lifesaver for me because I love the cinematic camera, but for the longest time, I would never use it because the camera angles would be random, and I'd be doing something and the camera angle would change and it would mess up everything that I was doing. So now you can alter it by clicking on the right stick, and it will change it every single time. So that's something that's pretty cool right there. Something else that's pretty helpful, #6 today, if you want to switch between things you can interact with, you hit R1. So this is very helpful if you're in an interior or there's lots of things around you. Like for example, at this campfire here, I have the option to rest at the campfire. I have the option to sleep. But what if I want to loot the guys on the ground? What if I want to open a chest? It's kind of difficult with all those things in one centralized area. So using R1 to switch between items is a great way in which you can more easily manage things that you want to ultimately interact with. Number 7 today, I found this tip to be incredible. If you've committed a petty crime, you can actually avoid the bounty. And you do this by actually not leaving the crime scene. So for example, I was riding my horse in Saint Denis and I accidentally bumped this guy on my horse, which turned into unarmed assault. Now, typically when something like this happens, it causes a big fuss and a ruckus, and you get a wanted level and you get a bounty really for doing nothing at all. Like you accidentally hit this guy on your horse. And if you run away, you'll get a $5 or $10 bounty that you will eventually have to pay. If you just stay there, even though it's going to say you are wanted, as long as you are not hostile or doing anything else that is wrong, once the lawman approaches you, if you defuse the situation, he will allow you to leave. It will say in the top right-hand corner to move along, and if you just simply leave the area, no more lawmen will come after you, and you will not get a bounty after it's all said and done. So I can't tell you how many times this would have saved my life early on, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty reckless when it comes to riding my horse in the cities. And if you run over someone, there's a good chance you'll get a bounty on you for doing something simple like that. So that's something to keep in mind, that this method will save you from having so many petty bounties on your hand, which is just so awesome. Number 8 today, I've seen people doing this a lot. You don't physically have to carry your pelts to the trapper. Like, as long as your horse is nearby, you can sell your items to the trapper. Same with giving things to Pearson at the camp. You don't have to like physically bring a pelt to Pearson or the trapper. As long as your horse is nearby within like a certain radius, it'll act like you physically have it. Like I said, I've seen so many people bringing pelts to the trapper and stuff like that. You don't have to do that. You can leave it on the back of your horse. Speaking of your horse, if you happen to get separated from your horse and you need a ride somewhere, you can actually hitch a ride with a passerby. So if you happen to find a wagon and you actually aim in on it, there might be an option to hitch a ride. And this is actually done by hitting up on the D-pad. And you'll simply get in their wagon and you'll go wherever they will go, and you can get off at any time as well. So again, there are convenient ways to get your horse back, but if you need to just get somewhere really quickly, then you can actually hitch a ride on someone's wagon, and that is a little bit easier than saving and loading and coming back in. Or maybe you're not in an area where you can use a crafting camp and your horse won't spawn right next to you. So that's a nice tip as well. In a previous video, I've talked about a character you can run into, Blind Man Cassidy, and how he's actually blind. Like if you aim a gun at his face, he won't flinch. Be careful for fake beggars in Saint Denis. So there are real beggars in Saint Denis that if you give them money, you will get honor. But there's some beggars that are pretending they are blind. And fun fact, if you aim a gun at them, they'll have a reaction to you aiming the gun, which obviously means they're not blind. If they can see the gun and they can see you, then they can see and they're not blind. So it's sort of a great way in which you can figure out if someone is actually lying or not about being blind, and then you can make your determination on if you want to donate money to them. Tip number 11 today, if you run into a prisoner on the side of the road, it might be in your best interest to free them or save them, because they could actually give you tips on a robbery or where some money might be located. This happens almost every single time you see someone in the woods with shackles on, or if you rescue someone from a carriage or a wagon that is sort of like a police version or a lawman version. Again, it's a great way in which you can figure out some tips on robberies that might be going on in the city, might be stashed out in the wilderness. So it might be worth your time to save them. This is something I wish I knew a long time ago. So if the game says that you need sheepskin or sheep pelt in order to craft something, you don't necessarily have to find a sheep. So for example, a ram in this game provides the same sheep pelt as a sheep. There's a couple of other animals that function the exact same way too, whether it's an elk, whether it's a cougar and a big cat. They're both going to provide the same type of pelts. For the longest time, I thought you specifically had to get the specific animal for their pelt. No, it turns out that a lot of animals in the game will provide the same pelt, which will make things a lot easier for hunting, crafting, and making some of those rare items in the game. Tip number 13 today, if you're in water, be sure to dual wield your pistol. So we've talked about in previous videos that if you have your pistols or your revolvers in water, then it will actually cause the gun to degrade faster. However, if you select the dual wield option, your character will carry them up in the air above the water level, making sure that they are not damaged by the water itself. So if you happen to be in the water or you're hunting for a collectible or something like that, take your pistols out. It's going to save you in the long run. Tip number 14 today, if you have a level 4 bonded horse, you can actually instantly stop, like go from 60 miles an hour to 0, or however fast you go in this game really quickly. So what you want to do is go to a full sprint, and then if you want to stop instantly, if you're on PlayStation, just hold down square, and your horse will come to an instant stop and sort of do this stationary gallop. That's kind of cool. And this is nice if you missed your turn, or if you don't want to run over someone, or if you need to turn around or focus your attention on something else. And the second you let go of that square, you'll sort of get like a jump start again, which is a nice way to get going. And tip number 15 today, if you guys have been wondering how you dismember someone or why you haven't been able to, it's probably because you're using either the wrong weapon or the wrong type of ammo. So in my personal experience, a shotgun is going to do the best job of dismembering someone, and also the various rifle cartridges in the game do a really good job too. High velocity and express are going to be the ones you ultimately want to use. Using normal ammo on like a pistol or revolver isn't going to get the job done. But anyways, that right there is 15 helpful tips and useful tricks that will make you a better outlaw in Red Dead Redemption 2. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. What are some other tips or tricks that you guys have for us today? Let us know in the comments down below. If you did go on to enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new, or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care. And I'll see you guys in the next video.